Hello, and welcome to Virtual Investor Conferences. My name is John Viglotti. On behalf of OTC Markets, we're very pleased you joined us for our next presentation from EL8 Uranium. And before I introduce our speaker, please note you can submit your questions for the presenter in the question box to the left of the slides. And additionally, all of today's presentations will be recorded and available for 24/7 replay. At this point, I'm very pleased to welcome Murray Hill. He is the Managing Director and Chief Executive Officer of EL8 Uranium, which trades on the OTCQX Best Market under the symbol ELVUF and on the ASX under the symbol EL8. Welcome back, Murray.
Thank you, John. It's great to be back. What a fantastic time to be in the uranium industry. The decarbonisation train left the station a few years back, and he's rocketing down the track with no sign of stopping. The electrification EV revolution is in full swing, and if we're going to achieve those stated goals, we need reliable baseload carbon-free power. Because the other thing we need to think about this EV revolution is that if you think we've got an energy crisis now, which has really been highlighted by the invasion of Ukraine, Europe's going to run short of power this winter. They're relying on Russian gas. They need a way of having more reliable power, and we believe carbon-free nuclear power is it. But one thing I want to talk about the EV revolution is batteries store energy, batteries discharge energy, batteries don't generate energy. So if this EV revolution keeps going as it is, and you think we've got an energy crisis now, have a guess what? There's a big energy crisis coming. So we really need to take into consideration that the supply of carbon-free power is essential, and it needs to be baseload reliable. And that's really what nuclear is. So we do believe that nuclear is going to play a very, very important role in the future. But the issue we've got now is that there's insufficient supply of uranium to meet the current nuclear fleet, let alone any future demand from increasing, life of nuclear power plants or building new ones. So the only way to incentivize uranium production is for the uranium price to go up. So you're not going to have companies like us, explorers, or even care and maintenance companies getting back into production while the uranium price is sitting where it is. So there's absolutely no incentive for us to start producing more uranium until the uranium price goes up. So that's what we leverage the uranium price. All those things, nuclear sentiment, uranium supply, they're outside of our control. What is inside of our control is what we do as a company. Now, we've been in the business for 16 years in uranium only. So we're a uranium-focused exploration company, probably the most active exploration company listed on the ASX or trading on OTC, purely because we've made some acquisitions over the last 3 years, and we've made 4 discoveries in Namibia over the last 3 years. I would argue there's probably 5 discoveries because I'm going to throw Copies 3 in there. But, 81 million pound of resources at Marinika and Copies in Namibia, 48 million pound of resources in Australia. And then on top of that, we've got this upgrade process, which we developed in-house and has reduced the cost at Marinika and Angela projects. And I'll talk more about that. But an experienced team. We've got a team that's been in the uranium business for a long time. And, as I said before, what better time to be in the uranium industry when nuclear power is in high demand? So geographically diverse, let's talk about Namibia first. It's a tier 1 jurisdiction for uranium. Rossing Uranium Mine have been operating since 1976 on a continuous basis. So there's plus 2 generations of Namibians used to uranium processing. So very familiar with it. The government is very, very supportive. I had a great meeting with the minister in Namibia July this year when I was there. It's a great jurisdiction for being in, and we've been operating there for such a long time that we know it. We know how things operate, and we got a 61 million pound we were called Marinika Energy a few years ago. That was our namesake project, but since then we've really grown. So 20 million pound resource, a maiden resource at Copies, and we are the largest tenement holder for nuclear fuels in the country. We've built up a land position when the uranium price was low, and that's what we've got now. We've got a great contiguous package down the Namib area. We've got some really good tenements up in the central Orongo area. Because what we've focused on sufficient uranium. So less than 25 metres deep. near surface, and something that our upgrade process will add significant value to, because it will work very well on it. So that's where we're focused in Namibia. So moving down to the Namib area, as I said, a contiguous land position there. All these tenements, because let's just explain the situation. We're looking at paleochannels, which are old river systems, where the uranium's flowed down those river systems and deposited or precipitated when the conditions are right. So we've then moved upstream of known deposits. So there's something like 270 million pound in this area. So we've just gone upstream of those, thinking, well, the uranium's going to flow through our tenements to get to these deposits. And that was our strategy to build up this land position. And that's proved successful. We've made 3 discoveries in this area since 2019. And as I said before, I think Copies 3 is another discovery, which we'll go into very shortly. So quite exciting exploration activities here. Proof that we can find uranium with these new discoveries. We've just moved a second rig in September down to Copies area, and we're really exploring quite aggressively there. So just talking about the Copies project, it was our first tenement we had granted when we built up our land position in Namibia, and it is the first 3 years of tenure we estimated a JORC resource. That is an unprecedented outcome for anybody in Namibia. That's considering the amount of drill holes you've got to put into this area to get a resource. We did a fantastic job, and then we were focused so much on paleochannels that we would drill a hole, hit basement, and we'd go 2 meters into basement, make sure that it wasn't still in the paleochannel, and that would be our drilling program. So in a lot of areas, if we hit this basement near surface, the hole would be only a couple of meters deep. So what we discovered what we found when we were estimating the resource was that there was a lot of areas we hadn't drilled deep enough. It was very obvious that there was mineralization in basement underneath the paleochannel in a lot of areas and alongside it. So we know that going back and drilling this deeper, we will get a greater resource here. And when I say deeper, you might be familiar with deep holes of 650, 700, 800 meters. We deepened our holes to 25 meters. So that's a deep hole for us. So one rig can drill 5 holes per day, not one hole in 50 days. So we are really getting through the ground here. We've got 2 drill rigs operating, so that's 10 holes a day. The challenge for us is keeping in front of the drill rigs without planning, because there's, they're drilling so many holes. And with such shallow, inexpensive drilling, it sort of throws the conventional exploration methods on its head, because what you generally do, you use all these different methods to locate targets, and then the last process in that step is to drill a hole, because drilling is generally most expensive. But for us, a hole costs us about 1,000 Australian dollars, or 600 US dollars. So it's a low cost. So we're sort of going, well, do you spend the time locating targets with all these expensive processes like airborne flights, or some geochem or geophysics on surface, or do you just identify targets and go and drill them? So that's one of the challenges we have as an exploration team. We have got a few different exploration tools that we're just checking. We're drilling on those now to see if those tools are working. But certainly from our point of view, inexpensive drilling makes it a different proposition for exploration. So with this new method of sort of looking outside the paleochannel and looking into the weathered basement, we've started to step out through the Copies lease, and what we've found, is a 10-kilometre extension of the Copies resource within this weathered basement. So that's what I'm calling Copies 3. That's a huge area, and significant potential for growth, and which is why we moved 2 drill rigs down here. But the other thing about this is that we've found weathered basement mineralisation here. We know that upgrade will work on it because we tested some weathered basement at Marinika project when we developed upgrade, and we know that the mineralisation in this weathered basement is in calcrete veins, which is the same calcrete sitting in these paleochannels. So, but what it does, this weathered basement is a fantastic opportunity for us, because the extension of Copies 3 there, is that further north? Is it further south? Is it further east? there's a lot of areas that we've looked on our tenements and gone, well, we've just seen paleochannels, we drilled the paleochannels. Now we need to go and look at weathered basement around the paleochannels. So that's opened up a whole new potential for new discoveries for us. So that's very, very exciting for us. Now moving to Hirabeb, it's a project south of Copies. It's a tenement's about 15 times larger than the Copies tenement. We've got 2 zones of mineralisation there that we've discovered. We do need to follow those up. And then moving to the central Orongo area, which is north of Namib, where we have the Maranika, the 61 million pound Maranika resource, which is only 30 kilometres from the Trekopi mine owned by Orano, and 55 kilometres from the Rossing project I mentioned before, has been operating continuously since 1976. And we've just discovered Capri, 16 kilometres of mineralisation at Capri. So it's a significant area for us, potentially two resources in this area. It's not far away from an operating mine. So Maranika is what we developed our upgrade process on. We took the ore from roughly 100 ppm to 5,000 ppm prior to leaching, and that process in itself has reduced the amount of material to be leached and hence reduced the capital and operating cost by about 50% compared to conventional processing. And that was really the catalyst for us to go and explore, because when we developed Upgrade, we had just the Maranika project, a large JORC resource, but then we said, okay, we can now reduce the cost base for these styles of ores, so let's go and find more. So that was the catalyst for us to go and pick up this large tenement position that we've got. Moving to Capri, 16 kilometres of mineralisation. We announced last month from an extensive drill program on the western paleochannels. We haven't even gone near the eastern paleochannel yet. So that's very exciting for us, and another tick in the box of discoveries and demonstrating that what we're doing is right, and we know how to find uranium mineralisation. And again, we believe this is suited for the upgrade beneficiation process. So moving across to Australia, we picked up these projects 3 years ago, and for a very low cost. We've got 4 100% owned projects in the Northern Territory and Western Australia, and we've got some joint venture interests. So in total, about 48 million pound of resources. Australia is a tier 1 uranium jurisdiction, much like Namibia. So we've really picked our locations very well. In the Northern Territory, we've got Angela, which is 31 million pound at 1300 ppm, so a good grade resource. One of the impediments to it being developed in previous years when others have held it is the high acid consumption, 120 kilos per tonne. We used our smarts that we developed from Upgrade, did a few tests on it, reduced the acid consumption by 80%. We know that we can probably optimise that further, but at least, the first few tests, it shows that we can do that. So that's a huge benefit to the project and really the value that we can add to some of these assets. And we also think there's a potential to expand the resource. Minerva is another one in the NT. We have 10 drill holes in excess of 10,000 ppm. So that's very, very high grade for Australia. We've got a mineralisation strike over 2.4 kilometres. So we're also looking at how we can expand that resource by drilling. And a few JV interests I won't go into in detail today. And then Western Australia, we've got the Urubaguma project. We recently put a 26 to 52 million pound exploration target on it. The mineralisation sits between 40 to 120 metres below surface. It's been touted as an ISR. We would challenge that potentially. It could be an open pit. So, we approach things by thinking outside the box and doing what we believe is a better outcome for the project. So it's got potential for either ISR or open pit, and exploration potential obviously as well, with some drilling to do to get to a JORC resource. The Thatcher Soap project in WA, 11 million pound of a calcrete deposit located in the same province as Uluru and Centipede and Lake Maitland and a few others in that area. And it's calcrete hosted, so we know it's prime mineralisation for the upgrade process. So the question I get asked a lot, what is Upgrade? Upgrade's a beneficiation process that we developed in-house. We own it 100%. Each step focuses on rejecting a different gangue mineral through the step process. So it rejects about greater than 95% of the mass prior to leaching, and we're using industry standard unit operations that you'd find on a base metal, a gold, or a mineral sands plant. And because we reject the acid-consuming minerals, the calcite in a calcrete deposit, then we can go to an acid leach after it. So it's a big difference to, what presents to a leach. So what we've done to date is we've increased the Marinica project ore grade from 93 to 5,000 ppm. That's 50 times, and reduced the mass to be leached to sort of 1.5%. So that's a huge benefit to that project, and the 80% reduction in the acid consumption that Angela alluded to a couple of slides back. So the benefits for us is because it produces a low mass, high grade concentrate, and you're reducing mass all the way through the process. The capex and the opex are reducing all the way through because the mass at the end is very small. So approximately 50% reduction in both of those compared to conventional. And it provides us optionality. And what I mean by optionality is that you can produce a concentrate of upgrade, and you can either leach it and refine it on site to produce yellow cake, or you can take that concentrate to a third party. And in Namibia, there are a number of third parties that have been operating there for a while that could take our concentrate happily. So that means that we've got that option. We can go and develop the project, produce yellow cake ourselves, or we can send it somewhere else. Now, sending it somewhere else means that your capex comes down even further to develop it. It's a simpler development process, and you can develop smaller or lower grade projects than you would if you had to build a refinery. So that really opens up, small projects and low grade projects for us to develop that nobody else has, because nobody else has upgrade. So I could go through there's a lot of benefits, environmental benefits of upgrade. And, acid consumption is one, whereby you're not moving so much acid through towns or from the port. So the acid consumption reduction is huge. We can take the calcite that we remove in the process and add it to the leach tail to completely neutralise it, producing an inert, environmentally safe tailings. And, because you've got very little tailings, you've got a very small tailings area. So there's a lot of other environmental benefits of the process. And as I say, it's a process that we've got patented. We've got 3 patents in various jurisdictions around the world, and it's a process that nobody else has. So we're using it for our benefit, and it's, as I said before, it's a catalyst for us to explore. So just a corporate snapshot. We've got a very small board. We don't waste money on unnecessary things. We've demonstrated that over a long period of time, and we've done exploration at very, very low cost. And when you're considering $1,000 Australian a hole, that's very low cost exploration. We've got a small number of shares on issue compared to a lot of companies on the ASX. A good market capitalisation at the moment, and we've got cash in the bank. Fantastic for us. We've got enough funding to keep us going, drilling aggressively in Namibia and Australia for at least the next 12 months. So it's a fantastic position to be in at this stage of our project, our company growth. And so in summary, we've got a focused, uranium-focused company, all right? We've got 61 million pound of resource at Marinica. We've got another 20 million pound at Copies. We've gone and got 4 discoveries, and if you believe me, the 5th one of Copies 3, and what more can we get? We've got 48 million pound resources in Australia, a number of projects. We've got this fantastic upgrade process, which reduces the cost base for all of these projects. We've got a great team that's experienced in uranium. We're in the uranium business now in a time where the world is very, very dependent on carbon-free nuclear energy, and the demand for power is just increasing almost exponentially. So a fantastic time to be in the business. Apologise for my my head at the moment. I woke up this morning and feeling a bit off, so I'm not focused as well as I could be, and I apologise for that. But if you want to ask me any questions, please use the contact details there. I always respond to anybody that asks questions, and I look forward to answering them. So thank you very much for your time, and have a good day.